Hey friends, I'm Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. And I'm putting this sticker back down on the thing so I can cut it out and make it a little bit skinnier. Welcome to Friday, let's fix some stuff. You guys are gonna get to check out my giant sweaty mailbag. We're gonna do Q&A as we always do. And we are going to troubleshoot the problem child Tiny Whoop from Wednesday's stream. The ghostly Tiny Whoop on the 0702 32,000 kV motors is just being a dick. I don't know why, but we're gonna try to figure it out tonight. Yeah, I figured it was a good... I was gonna fix it last night, but then I thought, you know what? Twitching motors are a very common question that I get from folks. And so what a good opportunity to fix one. And I'll show you how to troubleshoot it. We'll talk about, like, most commonly what causes that. And, yeah, we'll take a look at... we'll figure out what this one's doing. Is it the ESC? Is it the motor? Is it the soldering that I did on the wiring? Or is it something else completely different from that? This box here has almost all of my HD0 stuff. I'm keeping the goggle module, but everything else is gonna go because I'm going more towards walk snail. And Captain Cannoli, Big Timko, Little Timko's dad, sent me a bunch of the walk snail stuff, so I'm sending him a bunch of HD0 stuff in exchange. So it's kind of a perfect trade. And yeah, I'm just not gonna use the 200 milliwatt 20x20 flight controller, VTX rather, and I'm also not going to use the two regular nano-sized cameras that I've got. So yeah, why not move it along to they've been sitting in boxes or on these shelves for probably about a year, and that's just silly. So let's get them over to somebody that can that's actually going to use them, you know what I'm saying? And I'm moving on from HD0 to walk snail, which is some of what's in the giant sweaty mailbag. What the hell is this? Like a little... It used to be a pin. It looks like it was in there. So yeah, that's what's going on tonight. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you had a great day at work. Week at work, rather. In the chat, Espander was first, CiottiFPV was next, Rob Axelson, Big Friend, Anonymous, Frank Nicholas, Mr. Huggy, Rock Caller, Riot 9, Sky Sailor, Ethan W, Robert G, Left Step, Kevin Sumner, Mamacita 1111, Freelojo, DNS Jules, Rob Axelson, Nani again, Kevin Sumner again. We'll leave it there. What's up, Athix? How's everybody doing? Yeah. Hey, and we'll also finish up the... I ended up not doing any work on quads last night. We'll finish up the cinematic analog donkey chaser. You know what? I'll do that like right now while we're talking, while we're doing Q&A, while we're sort of hanging out. Because I mean, it's just me screwing in screws. There's like absolutely nothing interesting. Although I guess I am kind of farting around with which ducts go where, but that's more just me being completely insane than anything else. For people that haven't gone all the way off the deep end, it really doesn't matter which ducts go where on these little fractal builds. But for those of us that are crazy, you know, you can put the ducts on here in a way that satisfies your insanity. And I think that is right here. So there's that support, and then there's that piece on the inside of that support. Wait a second. Wait a second. Did I put the same ducts on the same donkeys? I think I did. I think I did. Are these two the same? Are these two ducts the same? Are these two ducks the same? Oh, no, you know what it is? It's left side versus right side. So there's a support, and then right in the middle of the donkey, there's the donkey. So this is the matching. This is the matching one here. And then there's the two donkeys there. And, okay, so this is the matchy-matchy here, right? Yeah, this is the matchy-matchy here. Okay, we're good. This is motor 2 that's going on here. There's really nothing to see. There's nothing to see. If you want to talk directly to me in the chat, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV. It'll light up an orange for me. You can do that with each other. If there's somebody, if you want to get somebody's attention, all you got to do is type their name into chat and spell it correctly. And for that person, and that person alone, it'll light up an orange. And yeah, you can just kind of get their attention that way. That's how you're going to get my attention if you have any questions. And that's all I have to say about that, I guess. Or you can do a super chat. If you like this sort of wishy-washy content, you can do a super chat to support the madness. I am fully crowdfunded by you beautiful people. That way, when I do a review of an item, if it sucks, I'm going to tell you that it sucks, because you're the ones keeping the lights on around here, rather than some company who's, you know, PR people I'm afraid of, them coming to my door and destroying me. If you want to support the chaos that is trying to do FPV full-time, trying to be a content creator, even more chaotic, head on over to CiottiFPV.com, and Patreon helps me out the most, and you get the biggest benefits. There's also an Etsy store where you can buy some stickers or some random hardware that might help during your next build. There is a Patreon, a Fiverr page where you can work directly with me one-on-one. I have pretty much a standing appointment on Fridays at 4 o'clock with Drew, and he has been improving. We do a little bit of everything, but the main thing that we do is work in the simulator together. And like when people are new, it's my absolute favorite time to kind of work with them selfishly, because week over week, it's like a different pilot. It like the amount of progress that I make in like 6 months, they'll make in 1 week. Because, you know, when you're newer, there are like big gains to be made, and putting like a half an hour into the sim every single night will just make a huge difference. After you've been around for a couple of years, you can, I mean, there is a point where the simulator kind of stops helping, because you really want to be flying the exact same rig every single time that you fly. And the simulator can make that a little bit challenging, because the sim is going to act like a separate quad that you have to kind of memorize and develop a muscle memory for. But yeah, the gains just get a lot smaller as you get better and better and better. And so when I work with pilots that have been around for a while, I'm able to like identify what's going on by watching their sticks and giving them advice. But then if they come back a week later, it just hasn't been enough time for them to like break that bad habit or kind of get through that usually. So I'll typically recommend like, hey, let's meet once a month, or let's work on something else next week. Let's talk about, build planning or something like that. Because yeah, it just tends to not be quite enough time to dial it in. I've certainly had students who have been able to, right? Like they'll spend a couple of hours every single night in the simulator, which is rad. But yeah, it's when folks are fresh, it's really fun for me to kind of work with them. And the other really cool thing is that I can kind of prevent them from getting into bad habits, right? Make sure you turn left and right. Make sure you, I mean, there's just a million. There's a million bad habits that people can develop. Like when you move your throttle up and down, do you do it sloppily and accidentally add some yaw in? Like that's something that I can see in the stick overlays. And it's something that I can talk about really early on so that they dial it out immediately rather than having it, plague them for years and years and years. So yeah, it's super fun. And I would love to work with all you beautiful people. If you're brand new, I can definitely help. If you're super seasoned and you're looking to kind of refine, I can help as well. I feel like I might be better at helping folks refine, like the newbie stuff. I've been through it. I was new once as well, and I've had quite a few clients that have enlisted my help to do that. But yeah, as with many things in FPV, I think the most about how to refine it once you've been around for a while. And just like that, the Fractal 65 analog cinematic chasing rig is bolted back together. I consider that to sort of be my specialty, is taking somebody that's been around for a while and just cleaning things up, finding little things here and there that they can do better. This being my full-time job for 45 to 50 hours a week, I'm thinking about FPV, right? Like that's one of the beautiful things about doing this full-time, is that you can really just think about it all the time. Like when I was at work, I would have to think about work for 6-ish hours a day every day. And then I could screw around for another couple of hours and think about FPV stuff, watch FPV YouTube videos and whatnot, you know, get caught up to date on stuff. Ever since I went full-time with this 2-ish years ago, I've been able to just eat, sleep, live, breathe FPV. And those, like, you know, when I'm thinking about stuff, when I'm thinking about how to do a split S a little bit differently or a power loop a little bit better, you know, what's the thrust vector look like on a Matty flip and how can we clean it up? When's the best spot to really dig into the throttle in that rotation? Yeah, that's the stuff that I'm super interested in. So regardless of how good you are, I can probably help you out. And so yeah, no matter what what level you're at, I can probably help you out over on Fiverr. I also have a Teespring store with some t-shirts and a really cool tote bag that says "Kill All Carbon" on it for your broken carbon and whatever else you got. And then there's a whole bunch of affiliate links over there on CiottiFPV.com. If you're doing an order on the internet, someone has an affiliate link to that website, and there's probably someone whose content you watch on YouTube. Do that person a favor and hit their affiliate link at some point before you check out, and they will get a small percentage of your total order. When enough of you do that, it makes a huge difference, and it's completely free money. It doesn't cost you anything. You can still use coupon codes and get free shipping and all that jazz. So yeah, try to use affiliate links every single time you buy something on the internet. That's how I've been able to like remember. I've just like when I'm ordering something on the internet, I'll think about, like, if it's something FPV related, I'll think like Joshua, I'll think my own affiliate links. And I'll try to find one to that website before I check out. Other folks have changed their bookmarks to my affiliate links, or you can remove your browser's autofill suggestions and then hit my affiliate links a couple times, and then your browser will think that when you type AMA, you want to buy a nut grabber every single time, which is, for me, the affiliate link that I've got that I use to Amazon. And yeah, just make your life a little easier. Espander tagged me and said hi. Nani said, what's good? Mr. Huggy said hi all. And CiottiFPV. Rockcaller said, hey, CiottiFPV and everyone. Athix says, hey. Nani says, any things you don't want that are HD0 in the future, hit me up too. I'll take them off your hands. Literally the only thing that I have left now is the goggle module. I'm tempted to let that go, but if someone sends me an HD0 rig for testing, I want to have those, right? Like the HD0 goggles are impossible to get your hands on at the moment, and I'm not really in a place financially to spend $500 on them. So, yeah. I just found a shipping label on the ground, and I have no idea what it's for. That's not going well. Josh Sherman, are you out there? Josh Sherman, message me. I have a shipping label that I've printed out for you. I don't know what it goes to. That's not gone terribly well. Yeah, reach out to me, Josh. Sorry. That's ridiculous. Hold on. Let me shoot Josh I can't rely on Josh watching this. Even though you guys should watch every single one of my live streams. Oh, Josh is squitchy. Okay. Do I have some messages from him? Yo, man. I have a shipping label here with your info, but I don't know what I'm shipping to you. Help. All right, cool. Josh has a Patreon message now. A message on Patreon. Athix says, "Hey Nani, we got that." Mamacita1111 says, "Would you ever consider doing a live masterclass on Zoom?" What do you mean by when I read masterclass? What I think of is the pre-recorded. They're called masterclasses. There's a website that offers masterclasses with pre-recorded stuff. But then you also said live. So pre-recorded masterclasses, that kind of thing I stay away from because of how frequently and quickly the tech changes in FPV. That's kind of also why I've chosen to do live streams over edited content. Edited content a lot of times is only really good for like 6 months to a year before everything changes in FPV because it's such a new thing. So I've chosen to go with these live streams so that you tune in, you ask me a question, and today I give you the best possible answer that exists, which could be completely different than what it was 6 months ago, a year ago. But live masterclass on Zoom, that also makes me kind of think of like, are you asking if I've ever thought to just spend like 6 hours straight with somebody and just give them like a masterclass on everything that is FPV? No, that would require quite a bit of planning to try to hit all the bases, right? I mean, there's so much stuff. I typically will have folks, and that would also be way too much to digest, right? Like nobody's going to be able to digest all of that info. I would prefer to have, and what I've done with quite a few folks, is get you set up on like a weekly kind of thing. 4 o'clock every Friday. We spend an hour. And, you bring me any questions that you've got. Maybe we hit a couple specific topics. And then you have an entire week to kind of digest that. And then we come back the next week and, take it a little bit of a different direction. We talk about video systems this week. And then next week we talk about control links, and then the following week we talk about motor sizing. That tends to be the best way to let people like really get that information, think about it, understand it, do a little bit of flying, and come back towards it. If somebody wanted to do that like once a day, that would probably work. 24 hours would probably be enough time after spending, half an hour talking about stator sizing to really let it sink in, especially if there's somebody that's been around for a while and they've watched a bunch of technical videos, but they're having trouble kind of connecting all the dots. So yeah, that's typically, what I would go with, sort of modeled after the way schools do it, right? You go to school, you take science for 45 minutes a day, Monday through Friday. Rather than going to school on Monday and all day Monday is science from 8 a.m. till whatever time school gets out. So yeah, that's what I would sort of prefer. I'm in this to help you guys learn as much as possible. Like, the whole masterclass thing, like that's a good way to make a lot of money, to be really honest. Like people make really good money doing those. But I'm not really into it for the money. I'm into it to help everybody learn and improve and help me figure out how to get micros flying as good as possible. So I lean towards like the formats that are going to help folks learn the most rather than like, hey, how can I make the most money? So yeah, but that's just me. I'm a terrible business person. C-Mac says, you got to get your ducks in a row. Freelocho says, I created the deep end so I could jump off. Athix says, walk snail is worth it. IMO. I hope so. Adam Weston says, just happy to crowdfund. I appreciate it, brother. Mamacita says, same question. Grant R says, will you be competing in IGOW 4? This is my first year. So much fun. No, but you know what I kind of want to do? I kind of want to like follow along with IGOW here on the live stream. But I'm not going to remember to do that. So why don't you guys bug me every Whoop Wednesday or whenever you want. If you just bug me and be like, just tag me in the chat and be like, yo, this week's IGOW is power loops. Can you show us? Or how many can you do, or like anything like that, we'll do it, right? We can do IGOW stuff every week. I just don't really have time to like fly it, film it, edit it, upload it. I tried that 2 years ago, and I made it like two weeks, and then I missed the third week, and then I just If I'm gonna dive into Premiere and do like actual editing, it's gonna be on the 4 years of flight footage that's sitting on my hard drive unedited. But yeah, we can do IGOW stuff live. That would be super fun. I just need you guys to help me remember. We can kind of do it together. And maybe I can help you. Like if submissions are due on Thursday, maybe every Wednesday you guys say like, hey, can you help me out with this week's IGOW? I can't quite figure out how to do it. And then if it's Matty Flips, I can talk to you about where you want to put the throttle on and stuff like that. So maybe I can help you guys do better in IGOW. That would be amazing. Hope that's not considered cheating. But that's something I'd be willing to do. But I know for a fact that I will not remember because I'm the worst. Nani FPV got goggles already. Just got them the other day. Very cool. Goggles are funny, man. Like it's a big step to order them, and it's like awesome when they come, and then you just put them on your face and like you forget about it. Which is a good thing, like forgetting about a piece of gear is actually what we want. We don't want to be thinking about the gear. We want to be thinking about what we're doing with the gear. So Mavhu says, how do you bind the Mobula 6 ELRS to the Radiomaster TX12? I've been trying for an hour. So the first thing, Mavhu, to remember about ELRS is in order to bind ELRS, it takes 2 full days. The first day, you're going to try all the different binding methods. You're going to look up all the YouTube videos. You're going to Google it. You're going to do all the things that you're supposed to do. And yet, for some reason, it's just going to refuse to bind. I don't know. I don't understand it. But that is what's happened to me every single time I've had to bind anything up via ELRS. And it's not just me. It's other folks, too. So that's what you want to remember. So if today you've started to try to bind it, tomorrow is going to be when you actually get it bound. I don't know anything about the Radiomaster TX12S, so I'm not really going to be able to help you out. Luckily, here on YouTube, there are a whole bunch of videos about ELRS and how to bind it. The one that I usually turn to is Joshua's. Joshua's got like 2 or 3 actually ELRS related videos. So just go to his channel, click the little magnifying glass, and just search for ELRS, and there'll be a bunch. A bunch of other people have Express LRS binding videos out there, so you can try those as well. You just gotta work through it, man. I don't understand. I don't understand why ELRS is so difficult to bind. It's just a mess. Riot9 with a really good point. Make sure both your radio and the receiver are on the firmware. That's one of the more common things that causes binding problems. If your transmitter is on 2.5, ELRS 2.5, the quad must also be on ELRS 2.5. If the quad is on ELRS 3.0, that will not work, or vice versa. So that's one of the more common issues. That has not been my issue for the last like 3 or 4 times I've bound it, and it's still taken 2 full days for me to get it bound. I don't get it. I don't understand. It makes no sense. I've had one instance with the Newbie Drone BLV4 where everything was on 2.5. I plugged the quad in 3 times like you're supposed to get the bind light flashing. It flashed like it should. I pushed bind on my module. It bound, and I was up in the air. That's the only one time that it's happened. I probably have 10 rigs with ELRS on them, and that one individual time it worked totally. It worked the way that it should. All other 9 rigs, it's been a complete nightmare. So it's not just you. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you, but it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Metanerdskin with a $5 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, "Have a good stream. Put this one on the fund. I'm about to go maiden my FPV plane, so send non-crashing vibes my way." Oh boy, Metal Dirt Skin's gonna be gluing some styrofoam back together in about 20 minutes. Although maybe it's easier in FPV. If it was a line of sight plane, it would be almost certain. But maybe FPV planes are a little bit more, flyable out of the box. Let's put that in the fund here. Where is it at? We've got. There it is. Oh shit! I need a new fund. We need to. Well, no, because nope. Yeah, we need a new fund. All right. So let's start this off, and we're gonna go O3 Air Unit Fund. What do they cost? $260 per. So 260 math. We got 260 times 2 equals 520 times 0.3. So it's 520 plus 520. So I add 30% because that's what Google and Amazon, Google and YouTube take. So 676 is going to be this fund. 676. I would love to buy 2 O3 air units. One of them for the live chasing rigs. Can't just have one of everything though. Got to have at least a backup. I will not put it on both of the cycle chasing rigs. Reason one being, I don't know how it's going to react with the smart controller. It might not even work at all with the smart controller. Reason two being that the O3 air units do not work all that well as the sun comes down, and a lot of these cycling races are like twilight races. So I really wouldn't be able to move all the rigs over to the O3 system, which is kind of one of the other reasons that I'm avoiding the O3 air unit. What it looks like is, if I were to upgrade to the O3 air units for these live stream events, it looks like I would need to spend $1,200 on a new smart controller, which is absolutely insane. And then I would be locked in to the O3 camera, which doesn't do very good in low light. So realistically, what I would need to do is carry around both smart controllers. So now I've got like $2,200 in smart controllers in my bag. Hopefully the new smart controller will work with the DJI V2 goggles. Otherwise, I got to spend another $550 on the goggles too. And then I need to carry 2 sets of goggles, which is asinine. So yeah, the O3 system for me is a little weird, but I do want to try it. And so let's just do one, because I have a feeling that it's not going to work with the old smart controller, because why would they come out with a new smart controller? So let's do 260 times 0.3, $78 plus 260. Okay, so 338. Call it 340. 340 is basically what it'll cost for a one single O3 air unit that we can then figure out what the hell's going on with it. Will it interface with the smart controller? If not, what I'll do with it is put it into a Freestyle rig and just record DVR with it, because until there's a way to get better low light performance with the O3 system, I can't use it. Like I cannot use it for these events. And I don't think I'm willing to drag around all that extra gear for it, especially when these TV trucks and the crew that works on them have been completely happy with the old school DJI system and the 720 output that it produces, because 720 is what those trucks output. So they actually request 720 60 frames from me, 59.97. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I've been thinking more about the O3 system because I would love to have the better quality, right? Like I want my output to look as good as possible, but the low light thing is a real problem. I actually just I'm in the process of being hired for another cycling race in Denver this year, and it's a full-blown twilight race, like under the streetlights. So I'm gonna have one of my rigs is gonna be on a regular DJI Vista, and then I've got a Caddx Polar that I'm gonna be putting onto the other rig. The O3 Air unit will not compete with either one of those. Like the low light performance is worse than the regular OG DJI camera. So yeah, basically until there's an O3 low light camera, I'm kind of stuck, right? Like it's a daytime thing only, and you got to have a whole bunch of extra gear in order just to do it. You know, like I'm willing to switch over if I can switch all the way over. If I can fund it, right? The other problem is money. $1,200 for the new smart controller, $550 for the goggles, $260 per air unit. You know, we're looking at like $2,000 plus to make that switch. That's kind of absurd. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. Michael D says, thank you so much for your explanation on how to do power loops. Best explanation I've seen yet. It made more sense to me than all the other videos I've seen. You're certainly welcome, Michael. Yeah, ask me more of that, guys. Tag me when I'm ripping around here and you see me do something. Ask me to break it down. I don't know what you guys want and don't want me to break down, but like I've been figuring out how to break shit like this down for almost 2 years, working with people one-on-one through Fiverr. And I'm more than willing to do it on live stream, but I can't do it with everything, right? Like I can't take off and fly through this gate and be like, let me explain to you how and why I flew through that gate. You know what I mean? Like I need you guys to queue up like specific things that you're either having trouble with or you want to get better at or you're just curious about. So yeah. Freelojo says, yo, CiottiFPV, the BLV4 Ghost AIO is white. Dude, I know. And I want it so bad just because it's white. Yeah, the newbie drone. I feel like maybe they didn't have the picture up on their website or something like that because like 3 or 4 days ago I just noticed that. Yeah, the newbie. Here, let's look at it. Let's just masturbate all over it. What is that? It's a little. Oh, Search Labs. Newbie drone. Okay, so here's... Okay, so they don't have it. Where the hell did I see the picture of it in white? Is the question. Because on here, it's just the regular gold color. Was it on Facebook, maybe? Where'd you see it? Do you remember, Freelojo? Newbie Drone Hive. Let's see. And this is what a nerd I am. The color of the PCB is like the most exciting thing in the world to me. Athix says, too bad the OSD is ass colored. Ah! Oh, man. I don't know. I saw it somewhere. Juicy FPV is in the house. How are you, brother? Juicy, I shot you a message on Facebook. I asked you if you've had a chance to fire out those 01, or not 01, those 1S light VTXs and cameras. Damn it, I really wanted to see it. Ooh, Freelojo's got it. Freelojo's got it. Oh, there it is. Oh, come on. Look at that, yo. You can't tell me that wouldn't make... Oh, man, that would look so good on the Ghostly Whoop. on the ghostly rig here. Come on, yo! Imagine that with the white camera wires hooking up to a white BLV4. Ooh, and then I'd put goggles on and I wouldn't be able to see it. That is hot though, dude. It's hot. Look at it. It's white. It's so beautiful. All right. And I have a ghost module too. I could totally do it. But the last thing I need is another mod, is to drag around another module. So yeah, I'm not going to do it. Riot9 says, flying the O3 for a week now, and it feels like I'm coming out of a warp every flip as the light and brightness changes. Looks great in 4K after and all, but flying, boo. Yeah, I've heard, you know, it's really funny. I find it really, really, really funny that, like, all of the problems that we had, by we, I really mean me, with split style cameras over the last couple years, right? Like, Christ, I don't know, 4 years ago, 4 years ago, split cameras popped up, and I was like all over it because, you know, micros. And man, every single split camera that came out, I would buy, and I would try to fly it, and as an FPV camera, it sucked. And then the HD footage coming out of it was like half decent. And I would sit there and I'd be like, well, I guess it's not that bad to fly. You know, when I was not flying, looking at the footage, because the footage looked kind of decent. And then I'd go out to fly again, and while I'm flying, I'm just like, oh my God, this is awful. I can't do anything. I'm like not confident. There's latency. There's shit field of view. And the whole time I'm flying, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And then I come in and I pull the footage off it. I'm like, well, I guess it wasn't that bad. I was just being a bitch. It's fine. The footage looks great. And like that cycle would, and then somebody else would come out with one, and I'd get that one. Like, oh, this one's definitely going to be better. And it never was. And then split cameras kind of stopped for a while, right? We got the Caddx Tarsier, which had two lenses. One for the FPV, one for the HD, and that was kind of the solution to the problem. And then the RunCam Hybrid came out, and that did the same thing, and it was great, and all was well. And then the O3 Air unit comes out, and we're right back to where we were. And that's, you know, I haven't had any personal experience with it quite yet, but pretty much everybody I've talked to says the same thing, which is that the HD quality coming out of it is fantastic, but as an FPV camera, it's just not as good. So yeah, here we are again, friends. Yeah, it's super. It's great that it exists. Don't get me wrong, it's great that it exists, and I have a feeling that at some point I'm gonna have to move to it. There's gonna be a live flying gig that says like, hey, can you do 1080? And it's gonna be like, yep, but it's gonna cost you, you know, $2,500 in gear rental fees for me to upgrade my gear to that system. And a lot of these companies will pay that. They do. It's very weird. Like, you charge them your day rate, and then the industry standard is to also charge like a gear rental rate. It's very strange. I think it's for tax purposes. I think they're somehow able to like write off the gear rental prices, right? So you can build in like thousands of dollars in gear rental stuff as long as you kind of explain it to them, which, you know, what you have to do and why you're willing to do it. What's nice for us is we can really soften the blow by saying like, hey, look, you cover the gear rental fee. I'm willing to put the time in free of charge to upgrade because my whole fleet is hand built. I will put the time in 10 to 20 hours free of charge, upgrading my gear to get it ready for this event. All you need to cover is the additional gear rental fee. And a lot of these organizations will be like, oh my God, really? You're willing to do that? So yeah, I have a feeling that I'm going to end up there. You know what? The big thing, I don't really care about the 1080 output, to be honest, because the 720 output of the OG Vistas looks phenomenal. What I really care about is the image stabilization. these, in order to stay sub 250 for these gigs, you have to sacrifice something, and it's a little bit of like PID loop performance and a little bit of just general flight performance. These rigs fly fantastic. I don't know how much better I'm going to get them to fly. I think that I'm pretty close to like them flying about as good as they're going to fly. I will say this though, with this AOS 3.5 build, I'm going to try the GEP-RC hysterically durable prop guards on this thing, and I'm wondering if this will give me a little bit more flight performance. I've always been really suspect of the aerodynamic properties of these box frames. What I love about these is how protected the propellers are, right? Like the prop line is not dead center, but somewhat close to dead center here. So if I get up on a rider and touch their shoulder or their helmet or something, there's a really nice gap between the tip of the propeller and any part of them that is gonna potentially get cut. And I really like that about the box frame. So I think these are gonna remain like what is the main rig, because safety is more important around these athletes than really anything else. But what I know is that the air being pulled in on the top side of the propeller and the motors and everything, the air being pulled in, it doesn't just come straight in a nice even column. It gets pulled in a cone, right? So the air that's coming in from the sides here, it's just gonna hammer into this carbon, and in this case, a little bit of TPU, and then the air going out kind of does the same thing. It kind of scoops out a little bit. It's more on the intake side though, that it pulls air in from the side. The thrust on the bottom does go more. It does go out as a clean column much more than the top, but there's still some that spills out, especially because you've got the high and the low pressure zone on the top and the bottom of the blade that are mixing towards the end of the blade. So yeah, I'm really suspect of the what this is really doing in the air. And I think, so the big problem that I have with these box frames is that when I'm really deep in the throttle, like towards the end of these races, when the cyclists start pushing beyond 30 miles an hour, 30, 35, 40 miles an hour even, I get like a little bit of wiggle and a little bit of wobble, and there's really not anything left in the PID tune to do that. Brandon's Baked Beans worked with me quite a bit on black box tuning both of these rigs, and the flight characteristics of these rigs when you fly them freestyle is unbelievable. The response time is dialed in. It's like incredible. They fly really, really, really good. But then when you push them really fast, they start moving around a little bit, and like, it's not the biggest deal in the world, because like when those riders start cooking at those speeds, sometimes it's moving around because I'm in their wake and there's nothing I can do about that. But even when I'm not, it adds like a little bit of excitement to it. Like, it's not Jello, right? So it's not unwatchable. It's just kind of moving around. And like when we look at a lot of the cinematic FPV footage that's getting used in commercials and movies and shit, they are adding camera shake in post to a lot of that stuff for the same reason. It conveys like a sense of motion, and like the shots that we're getting just feel right. It just feels right to have it a little bit kind of, like, hey, because we're tracking along, we're charging through the air. The other time though that it really happens is when I'm high elevation, when I get up above the buildings. And the wind picks up even more. And again, that's where I'm really questioning the aerodynamic situation of this box frame. So yeah, that's going to be, this is going to be my interim way of, because this is the next build that I'm doing. This is how I'm gonna kind of dip my toe in that and see if there's any improvement just having a little guard. What I don't like about the guard is that, and the reason why I was and still am kind of thinking about setting this up as a pusher. Right now I have the front camera plates and the arms configured so that I could build this thing as a pusher. Is like where, if I do contact one of these riders, where is that contact going to happen? It's happened once already at Miami Beach at the huge NCL event, and the rider actually flew into me. So I'm cruising along, this rig, I'm cruising along, and the rider's shoulder comes and bumps the rig. And the rig does one of these, the PID loop figures it out, and I fly away. Actually, it, like, from that, the PID loop fired up and it pulled itself off of him, right? I feel like that situation is more likely to happen than me ramming into someone, because me ramming into someone, like, I'm looking, right? And I'll avoid them. Whereas if I'm chasing the lead two riders and someone comes on a break and doesn't see me, they're gonna kind of hit me from behind, right? So that's what I keep kind of thinking about, which way to build this. If I build this as a pusher, like this, and it's flying like this, well, here, let's put it down here. Well, no, yeah, here. And somebody bumps into me, the blades are right here. So there's a better, I feel like there's a better chance that they'll touch a blade and it'll stall that motor out, and that's what I don't want, like, at all costs. Like, that is why the box frame is so nice, is because it'll prevent the props from stalling out and the rig crashing. So I think I need to build this, even though it seems weird to have, like, the exposed bit up on top, right, charging towards the subject. In the situation that I'm in, right, like, I feel like it's just way more common. And if somebody hits me from behind on here, it's fine, right? They're going to bump into this, and that prop is going to keep spinning, and away we go. Trying this experiment with this rig, I'm probably only going to put, like, one quick sketchy battery up in the air with it, because this will absolutely be over 250 grams with 4 of these on here. But I sent a message to Ryan Harrow last night about my 3-inch frame, and I said, yo, do you think it's possible for us to keep this under 250 grams with a set of these? And off the top of my head, so I know just by saying that to Ryan, he's going to have a bunch of ideas, which is awesome. Off the top of my head, the first couple ideas I hit him with. So your arms, when you're trying to save weight, the arms are always the best place to do it, because the arms are always the thickest carbon, right? Your top plate, your bottom plate is never as thick as the carbon on the arms. So if you can save a little bit of material on the arms, it's going to have a bigger impact than anywhere else. So what I asked Ryan is, hey, I can get you the measurements. Can we make a specific arm for these ducts where the arm end is the exact same dimensions as the mount base on these GEP RCs? The other thing that's cool about that I realized is, once I have it bolted up, and I haven't actually done this yet, so as it stands right now, it will not clear. These are basically 3.5 inches in diameter, so you have to have arms that'll clear 3.5 inch props, and these do not. On my frame, we designed it specifically as a 3-inch rig. Who dat? So yeah, the arms would need to be longer, which is kind of annoying because that's going to make them heavier. That's why these things fit so well on the AOS 3.5. It's because it's meant for 3.5 inch props. But yeah, can we make the arm end round, take the devil horns off, because the devil horns will not get used when there's a guard on it, right? And if we make the arm end the exact same size as this mount base here, what we can do to give it a little bit of extra strength is run a little bead of E6000 around. So we bolt the arm guard down, and then we just run basically 3 sections of E6000, boom, boom, and boom, to just make it a little bit stronger, right? Like I always stay away from the guard or duct setup that is bolted to the arm, because it puts all of the pressure on those 4 little bolt holes, which are all the way on the inside, right? Like, this is a huge long lever between where it's going to actually take the hit and the actual bolt hole. A little bead of E6000, it's not a lot, but it gains us a couple of millimeters. And I mean, like, why wouldn't we? You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't we do that? We're also designing the arm end to be as minimal as possible, right? To link up with this base and be as small as possible. So that was kind of my brain fart. Not brain fart. That was the lightning bolt that hit my brain last night. So yeah, these arms would need to be a little bit longer. And then the current generation of this build, the top plate is set up to hang an O3 air unit or a Vista off of the top plate. And then on the bottom plate, you'd be able to run like an AIO, or technically you could run a 20x20 stack. And yeah, that would be the absolute lightest possible way, right? Because the big thing that makes my frame so much lighter, and the reason why I love the Ripsqueak so much, is they're only set up for a single 20x20 stack. They have the gap in the front for the camera, and then they have a small gap in the rear to zip tie down like a little nano-sized VTX and or a Crossfire Nano and or an ELRS receiver, right? So, yeah, I'm hoping that my frame can kind of be like a Cinewoop, you know, and you put an O3 air unit in this, and it's like a damn near Cinewoop, right, with guards on it. Oh, and then for the camera, so what'll certainly happen, because we're trying to keep this thing as true X as possible. It is going to be squished X, but we're trying to keep as much front to rear leverage of lever arm as possible. If we were to put these on, there'd be a ton of prop guard in view of the camera, which is no good for anything cinematic, right? Obviously. So what we do is, and our plan for the camera mounting, of course, is the little TPU loops, which I love on everything. You just flip them the other way around. You put your when you want to take this thing into Cinewoop mode, you take your camera mounts that usually pull the camera back into here, and you flip those TPU pieces around, so your camera now sits out front here. And we can even include like longer TPU ones. Where did that come from? Yeah, we can even include longer ones to make sure that the guards aren't in view. And then what's cool is the guards provide some protection for the camera, right? Even if the camera is all the way out here, if you nose into something, the guard is going to hit it first to take some of that initial shock out and hopefully protect the camera. So yeah, there's that. That was my... I was really worried I was going to... that was like a midnight thought when I couldn't sleep, and I was just laying there like, man, I need to write this down. And I ended up sending a message to Ryan with like super rough cliff notes talking about this so that I wouldn't forget. But I'm really happy that I remembered this to talk about it here, because I know you guys ask me about this frame a lot, and yeah, I'm still just kind of waiting for Ryan to kind of work it out. But yeah, new stuff in regards to that. So I'm hoping that with all of those weight saving methods, that this will be sub 250. Let me refresh my knowledge on what these guys weigh, and what this weighs and what this weighs. I know that these box frames are anywhere from 50 to 60 grams for just the carbon. So the AOS 3.5 is 49 point something, 49.4 grams. So that's a little heavy. This guy, this is like version 0.1, is 42.8 grams. A bunch of that is in the devil horns. So they can come off for this setup. So probably save 5 grams from that. So that brings us down to 38, 37. And then we can maybe do like a thinner, this is a pretty thick base plate on here. We could probably do a thinner base plate. So yeah, hopefully we can get this guy down in weight. And then these guards, that's not bad. 6.5 grams per. 6, 12, 13, 26 grams total. That'll be tough. That'll be tough for sure. 1404 motor. But I'm willing to bet that there is a battery. I'll bet that there is a battery that exists that this build with these guards, 1404s, would make it under 250 grams. It might be like a high volt battery, but that's okay. As long as there is a battery that exists that can have this thing be sub 250, then I can put it up in the air and it's good to go. So yeah, that would be really cool. But the first step is putting these guys on this AOS 3.5 to see if at high speeds it's a little bit better in terms of getting kicked around by the wind and just the weird aerodynamic situation that seems to happen with these box frames once you have them stood up like this. They fly completely fine when you're going nice and slow. And when you're tracking slow at like probably right around this angle, they cut through the wind really nicely. And there's no weirdness, there's no moving around. It's not until you really start to ask this thing to haul ass that it starts to kind of move around a little bit. And I can tell that it's an aerodynamic problem because the PID tune that we have is like locked the fuck in. And you can like throw this thing and do, you know, wall rides and all kinds of weird shit. And it's completely fine. It's only when this thing starts really covering a lot of ground that you start to get some movement. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just a straight up aerodynamic problem. And plus, look at it. Look at the damn thing. Like, this is not aerodynamic. Like, this is what a bad aerodynamic situation looks like, right? Like, this is what we're used to. This is a not so bad aerodynamic situation. And I feel like this is a much better aerodynamic situation than this, right? The ProTech rigs are a great example of this. They designed something that looks really cool when it sits on your wall with like octagon shaped ducts, but then you put the damn thing up in the air and it flies like a bag of smashed assholes, right? It's got these ducts which are octagons, so like there's a bigger gap between the duct and the propeller, and then there's a smaller gap. Well, of course, all hell's gonna break loose in there aerodynamically as like the high and low pressure zones unload in the big gap and then tighten back up where it gets close, and then they unload again. They do that, 6 or 8 times per revolution. So like, yeah, of course, that's gonna be a hot mess. That's why those ProTech rigs don't fly right and sound ridiculous. So yeah, these are the kind of things that I think about. A lot, an awful lot. So yeah, we'll see. There is a chance that this will be worse. It's got more obstructions here, right? Instead of just instead of just 3, I should say, it's actually got 6 little jibbo-jabbos. But hey, only way to figure it out is to build it, because God knows ain't nobody got any aerodynamic design software that can kind of figure that out neatly. And even if they did, I wouldn't trust it. All right, so let me scroll back up and get a little bit caught up on chat here, and then you guys can check out my big sweaty mailbag. 8xFPV says, too bad newbie drones... Oh, we got that. White Fox says, hey, what's up, dude? White Fox is a local pilot that's also super into micros. Quasimodo says those guards are heavy AF. It won't be sub 250. We talked about that one. I'm actually 6.5 grams per. Doesn't seem too bad. And man, these are so fucking strong. I am so blown away at how strong these are. Like, it's really impressive. The 2-inch ones, they make a version of this for 2-inch props. You could run those fuckers over the car and they wouldn't care about it. But these 3-inch ones are shockingly durable. My only real gripe about these is they're not quite tall enough. And that's one of the reasons that they're so strong. But I wish these were a little bit taller. You got to make sure that you run a really short motor. Like, that's why this is going to get a 1404. I would not want like a 1405 or an 06, because that's going to really put the propeller up above the protection. And that's just not cool. You can't fly that around people, because then you're really asking to like gash the shit out of somebody. And, you know, if you're doing it professionally, like, that's it. That's game over. Your 107's gone and nobody's going to hire you again. So it's something that you got to really kind of pay attention to. But man, I've had these forever. I've had these for like 3 years, and I've had them on and off a couple of different rigs, and I've been really impressed by the flight characteristics when these are on. So I have high hopes. I just got to get this AOS 3.5 built, and I can play around with them. Kevin Sumner says a lightning bolt hit your brain fart. Ramdanko says safe. Noisy Miner says your frame looks great. For an 03 air unit build aimed at freestyle using your frame, what motors would you suggest? I would say minimum 1404. When we still had decent bigger motors than that available, I would have said Zing 1504s. Or the Emax 1306s are other more powerful than 1404 options, but unfortunately those motors have all been discontinued. We're in a place right now where the 3-inch freestyle micro motor selection that's currently being produced is pretty shitty, which is super sad and super annoying. The Zing 1504s were brilliant. The Emax 1306s were great. The RCX 1306s were phenomenal. We also had the Toka 1505s, which were amazing, and they're all gone. They've all been discontinued. I have a whole bunch of all of those, because I'm a hoarder, and because, you know, I've been flying rigs and testing those motors. But yeah, at the moment, like if you want to go bigger than 1404, I think you jump all the way up to 1604, and that's kind of too big. So yeah, at the moment it would just be 1404s. Like the T-Motor 4600 kV 1404s are about as good as it gets. Hopefully at some point these motor manufacturers will get their heads out their asses and realize that 3.5-inch props need a bigger motor than they don't need, but they really benefit from a bigger motor than 1404. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm still very salty that the 1505s, the 1504s, both 1306s have all been discontinued. That is super frustrating. But, you know, I'm just a guy. Ramdanko says view-horns equals all good things. Not totally sure what that means, but I like the word horns in there. Freelojo says, are you still looking for a BLV3? Check Weebleed. I'm good on the BLV3s. I've got 3, maybe 4 of them, which should be fine for my tiny lifters. I'm more frustrated that the BLV3 is no longer available, because I want you guys to be able to build tiny lifters, and the BLV4 does not seem to be a realistic option for a tiny lifter build. I've not had any luck with them on 2S. Maybe that was Blue Jay 17, 18, and 19 related. I'm not going to find out, though. I'm not going to go for a third time and rip apart one of these tiny lifters to check that. Sorry, guys, but somebody else can go down that rabbit hole. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of pulling these tiny lifters apart and swapping the AIOs out and going through all the setup, and then it doesn't work right. So, yeah. Sorry. Kevin Sumner says, Ripsqueak V2 3-inch is around 40 grams for the frame. Mine are coming in right around 250 with a stack and GNB 850 4S high volt, 50 amp Acon HD0 Whoop light. Your frame can easily do sub 250. Yeah, I agree. There's really no reason that a Cinewhoop configuration of this frame can't be below 40 grams like the Ripsqueak. You know, Ryan and I were really beefing this thing up to make it super durable for freestyle stuff, and we did a couple of things that added some weight. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that I can get a setup like this under 250 with a lightweight battery that lives in my pocket, you know? And then, like, God forbid the rig crashes, like, hey, give me that. I need to unplug that battery that's on there. Oh, look, this lightweight battery is the one that I was flying. We're sub 250. What else is happening in chat? C-Mac says, LOL, put that on the review page. Flies like a bag of smashed assholes. FPV Geek is in the house. What's up, Ron? He says, did you see the the sub 250 gram Tiny Whoop HD0 I posted in Discord? If that was directed towards me, I did not see it. I should spend more time in the Discord, but I don't. Because I'm the worst. But if you guys call it out, I'll certainly take a look at it. Looking at it right now here. 19.59 grams. Wow. So it's on a Meteor 65 frame. Looks like 702's super, super, super lightweight camera mount that kind of sketches me out. I don't like those TPU camera mounts. These are just, yeah, I just don't like them. On a hard crash, it's gonna hit the the board and potentially blow it up. Man, that is really light though. 19.59 for that. That is that's pretty incredible. It wouldn't withstand my bashing, but that's okay. Oh wow, sanded down the BT 2.0 to a bare minimum. Removed camera brass inserts. Jesus. MIPI tape, heat shrink for motors, shortened motor. Oh wow, shortened motor shafts. Oh what? Wow. It's on 3D printed motor screws. Yeah, so I mean, so we've talked about this. You know, I love that people do this. I really do. Like, this is super cool that somebody has done this. But you crash this and it explodes, and then you've got to redo all of this custom work, right? Like, you crash it and you rip one of the motor wires out. You got to redo your shortened motor wires out. You crash it and the BT 2.0 breaks in half. You got to sand down your another BT 2.0. The camera rips out. You have to take another camera and remove the camera brass inserts. You know, the motor screws being plastic, that's just insane. I'm never going to like recommend that anybody goes this deep down the rabbit hole, because you end up with something that you can't crash. And to me, that's just unrealistic, and that's not the point. Like, for me, the point is to crash, because when you crash, you're pushing yourself and you get better. And honestly, it's just fun to crash. It's super fun to smack into stuff. It's one of my favorite things about it. So yeah, this is cool, and I love that people do this, but I always try to recommend builds that are with as many off-the-shelf components as humanly possible, so that they're easy to build. Anybody can build them without having a million questions. And then you can also learn with it, and you can crash it hard and not have to worry about it falling apart all the time, right? Like, when you have a rig that is super fragile like that, you fly it like it's super fragile. And to me, that's not an enjoyable flight experience. Like, I want my rigs to be bulletproof so I can batter the shit out of them and fly really hard. So, like, yeah, that is super cool, and I love people that do that to just see what's possible. But I never really recommend it for anyone, because, yeah, if nothing else, you end up with this thing where you're like, ooh, don't crash. Ooh, no, I won't shoot that gap. No. I might crash if that's not, that ain't it. That ain't it, yo. Build some durable shit that you can bang the balls out of. That's That's my recommendation. Michael D says, I can't test the 2S, but I did try BlueJ 0.06, 0.14, and JESC, but I still couldn't enable bidirectional D-Shot. That's a shame. That's a shame. So that doesn't... I'm somewhat okay with not having bidirectional D-Shot on a tiny lifter. I don't love it, but I'm sort of okay with it, as long as the damn thing doesn't do all the weirdness that we've had, where when you go towards full throttle, the motors start making less power. That's what I'm most curious about. But, I mean, realistically, with the BLV4, the OSD is going to blink and go to hell. You can't have RPM... you can't have RPM filtering or bidirectional D-Shot. And well, I guess that's it. Those two things are like, that's it. Like I can't get past those. You know what I'm saying? What I'm really interested in right now, to be honest, is I really want to do an I really want to figure out an 03 air unit tiny lifter. The amazing thing about that is I get a good FPV view. The hardest thing about the tiny lifters is justifying the terrible, muddy FPV analog feed that you get. You know, the Newbie drone board has that special OSD chip that really makes the image significantly darker and muddier than the regular giant OSD chip. And it's just hard to fly. It's just hard to fly. Like, what I always want to do with it is like get into trees and like weave in and out of the branches, like that Japanese maple video a couple edits ago on the channel here. And it's really difficult to do. Like it's and you've got an Insta360 Go. It's just $300, and then you've got another like $150, $200 in the rig. You got $500 in the tree, and if it's a big tree, it ain't coming down ever. 03 air unit is $260, so it's a little bit less than the Insta360 Go, and it's your FPV camera, right? So it's almost like a budget setup. So the Betaflight has that little 1102 thing that they're doing, and now that's got me kind of thinking. They've made some weird decisions on that, and from a durability standpoint, I think maybe that thing is kind of a mess. I could be wrong, but yeah, the weight, and it's also a little heavy. It ends up being 86 grams, I want to say, with that 2S 450. I would love to try to bring that down. The tiny lifters all up are, is it 78 grams? So I mean, like, we're close. It's really, really close. Yeah, 78 grams. This is the video that I'm banging on about. So yeah, I would love to get it below 80 grams, which should be doable because because this tiny lifter is carrying a 26 gram payload in the Insta360 Go 2, whereas the 03 air unit is probably not 26 grams all up, and you save the weight of your FPV camera. So yeah, I'm super interested in that, but we'll see. We'll see what's going on. That is not at the top of my list right now, if I'm completely honest. But I'm keeping my eye on that Betaflight rig, and I don't know. I'm tempted to try to get my hands on one. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Noisy Miner says, Denzel the Terrible, bang balls at your prop guards to test how safe they are for gigs where safety is important, like the one CiottiFPV is doing. Bang balls? What? Oh, I see. Denzel the Terrible says, I just arrived. Yeah, you gotta rewind to get the full context. All right, so we finished the Fractal 65. Let's troubleshoot this twitching motor. What time is it? 8:20. We got bot grinder in 40 minutes, so let's dive on into the main thing that we want to do here today, which is how do I troubleshoot a twitching motor? Let me grab a battery that's charged, and I'll show you the problem. And we'll start kind of digging into it here. So I did one of the leads broke off of one of these motors on Wednesday, before Wednesday's stream, but on Wednesday's stream, oh, come on, Logitech. On Wednesday's stream, I did the repair on the motor wires, put it all back together. It's this motor here. And now all of a sudden, this motor is twitching. And I'm going to show you that right now. Or it will have fixed itself. In the last 7 years of being into this hobby, on a couple of occasions, I've had motor twitches that I have let sit overnight, and then I come back the next day, and magically it's fixed itself. Which is the weirdest shit ever. But hey, if stuff wants to fix itself, have at it. Come on. There we go. All right, so it's still twitching, so we've still got the problem. Now, first thing I'm going to do, which I didn't do the other day, is I'm going to go into turtle mode and see if it still does it in turtle mode. So let's try that real quick. All right, kick that on. You know, I did do this the other day. So yeah, it's still doing it in turtle mode. It does it at a little bit of throttle, and it does it at a lot of throttle. So we've definitely got a problem here. The first question that you should be asking yourself is the motor the problem, or is the ESC the problem? And there's a super, super, super easy and quick way to figure that out, and that's to take one of the other motors that's not twitching and put it there. Or, in my case, I'm going to, so I don't have to remove one of these other motors, I have plenty of tiny whoop motors that are sitting here on the bench. I'm going to take one of those and pop it into this motor's spot and see what happens there. So, we're going to unplug this motor. We're going to remove the 3 screws. And we're going to take a look. Also, I noticed that the motor is not hitting on anything. Like a twitching motor, if you're hearing like a clicking sound, it might be hitting against the duct or like motor wires or something like that. So it kind of goes without saying to check that, but hey. Yeah, if you're getting some kind of a clicking noise, make sure that the motor is not just physically smacking into something. All right, so we're going to bolt on a motor that I know is working. And basically what this is going to do is tell us, is it the motor or is it the ESC? Not 100%, because it could still be a wiring problem with the motor that I took off. But this is a nice, quick, easy troubleshooting step here. Now, what I actually recommend here is to take one of the other motors and swap it. This is not going to rule out a wiring problem on this motor right now, because I'm not putting this motor somewhere else. Like right now on this quad, this motor, this motor, this motor, this ESC channel, this ESC channel, this ESC channel are all working perfectly fine. So if I take this motor and I put it over here and it works fine, I've confirmed that this motor is okay. So yeah, I might still do that in a second, but I've got this one dropped on here already. Let's give it a quick spin and see what's going on. Because if this motor twitches, we know it's the ESC channel. And that motor is not twitching. So I'm going to go into turtle mode. And this motor spins up completely fine. Cool. So this ESC channel is confirmed to be good to go, because it's, well, let's do this. Let's put a propeller on it just to kind of be sure. Let's put a little bit of load into it, just to make sure that it's not, yeah, that it's good to go. Yeah, we're fine. All right, so this ESC channel is fine. The problem is right here. And there's really now no reason to plug this motor into another channel. I took a little bit of a gamble there because I had a feeling that this was the problem. And yeah, if this motor had twitched, then we would have a little bit more troubleshooting to do. But yeah, we kind of got lucky. So AIO is completely fine. Motor is the problem. So I'm gonna take my shrink wrap off of here, and I'm just basically gonna re-solder the motor leads to it, and we're gonna see. I don't know. Maybe there's a little tiny bit of solder in there that's there's a little solder bridge going on, or I did notice that there was a bunch of hair in this motor, but I mean it spins freely, so I don't think hair is the issue. To be honest, I don't really know what the issue is. Grant R says, where did you get the clear version of the Mob 6 canopy? AliExpress had them, and then TinyWhoop.com had them for a really short period of time, and then everybody snagged them. TinyWhoop, I'm sure, has more on order because they're going to be, they probably already have been dyeing the... thank you, Nani. Nani says they are back in stock, so there you go, TinyWhoop.com. Let's get this propeller off of here. We'll use our little Tiny Whoop prop puller that works brilliantly. And just want to kind of wedge it in under here. It's so much easier to use when the motor is still on the frame, but should be able to just kind of get it going here. Come on now. Come off of there. There we go. All right, and there we go. That is also available on tinywhoop.com, and it is fantastic. That is a great, great, great little tool. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is just take a closer look at this. So I'm going to use my little 5X loop here off camera to get a little bit of magnification going and see if I can figure out what the hell's going on here. The solder joints look completely fine, and they're not bridged to one another. So that kind of makes me wonder if the problem is on the other side of the PCB here, where the actual windings for the motors link up. But unfortunately, that's kind of hidden under the bell, so it's really hard / impossible to see that. But I'm looking. I mean, realistically, at this point, just get a replacement motor. I do not have an extra. I only bought one pack of these 702 3200s. So I do not have a replacement motor here. So, you know, since I would have to wait for them to get shipped, I might as well fart around with this some more to see if I can figure out what the hell's going on. I mean, with how good these solder joints look to the wires, I mean, I guess the problem could be here in the connector, but it looks pretty solid. All three of the wires are sitting in there pretty nicely. There's nothing that would tip me off to a problem there. Let me get a little bit of light in here, and I'm really curious as to the top of the PCB where the windings come in. I feel like maybe that's what's doing it. And I just need a little bit more light in here to be able to see that. But yeah, I mean, with Tiny Whoop motors, like at this point, just replace it. Like, this is kind of silly that I'm going this far down the rabbit hole here. Especially something this small. Like, these motors are so difficult to work on because they're so little. We know that the motor is spinning freely. Yeah, I mean, these look completely fine. I was I was assuming that I was going to take a close look at this and just see a problem. But I am not. I am not seeing a problem at all in here. So, well, let me look at the connection point between the existing wires. Okay, let me do this. When you buy these colored wires with connectors from TinyWhoop, they send you 5. So let me remove this one completely, and I'm going to see if I can find that 5th one, and we'll put that on to see if the problem is either, what that's going to isolate is the problem in the connector or in the run of wire, or is the problem between the PCB and the windings, in which case, like, just give up, right? So this is how we figure out if the wires and the connector are the issue. So here is the 5th one that they sent me. I'm going to match it up here and then cut it to length. Woo. All right, so just kind of hold these guys together. Get this lined up here. And as close as makes no difference. Get these guys chopped down to length, and I really only need to cut one, because then I can use that one as a guide for the other 2. So cut one to the right length, and then pull them out like this, and then just butt your flush cutters up against that one. Make sure it's straight. Butt your flush cutters up against it, and that'll let you cut all 3 to the right length. So now, and I did cut it a little bit long because it got a little bit shorter when I was making the repair to the 1 wire. All right, so now we're going to use our fingernails to strip the little bit of silicone off here. Your fingernails will not accidentally nip or, worst case, cut any of the inner strands of wire. These 30 gauge wires, in most cases, only have 8 individual strands of wire on the inside. So using metal, any kind of metal, to strip these little tiny 30 gauge wires is a really bad idea, because even if you like nick 1 or 2 of those inner strands, they will eventually break from all the crashing and bashing that we do. And when that happens, you're going to lose a big percentage of your throughput from those little individual strands, right? Work out the percentages on that. 1/8, 2/8. That's what, like 12% per wire. So yeah, just use your fingernails, yo. Fingernails are made of keratin. Keratin is not as hard as the little strands of metal in here. So the strands of metal don't care about keratin pushing up against it. All right. That is advice from a 30 to 40 plus year electrical engineer and my father. All right, so we're now going to tin these up real quick. Who was trained to solder by NASA and worked on a plasma fusion reactor for many, many, many years. Where's my little solder at? Here it is. All right, so we're going to put the tip of the soldering iron below the wire, and then we're going to feed the solder in from above. We are trying to push the solder in between the individual strands of wire, and it happens quick. So just get that and that and that. All right, so now the ends of the wires have enough solder on them to where you do not need to try to add solder and keep the wire in the location against the motor. You can just push the wire into the motor and you'll be fine. The wire into the pad rather, and you'll be completely fine. So pull this out here and get our little fine tip tweezers. So the first thing we're going to do is just remove the existing wires. So real quick here. 1, 2, and 3, and I actually did those at the same time. So now to make sure that there's no solder bridge here, we're going to heat up each individual pad and just pull outwards. By pulling outwards, it's going to prevent that little Hershey Kiss looking thing on top. And now I'm actually going to add a little bit of extra solder here because it's looking a little light. Okay, just a little tiny bit on each pad. Shit, and those two bridged, and I just broke the bridge like right away there, just sort of instinctively. Oh, we got some extra solder on this third one. Not enough flux on that third one though, so let's clean the tip of the iron and we'll just hit it a little bit here. There we go. If you have smoke, you have flux. When it stops smoking, you no longer have any flux. Let me take a quick look at these pads with some magnification here. And, all right, they look great. Do have a hair sticking out. Let's get that. All right, the hair's being ultra stubborn. The more stubborn the hairs are, the more they're probably hurting your performance. So try not to ignore them. Try to get in there. I know it's super annoying, but try to get in there and take care of them. God damn it. This one's being ultra stubborn. Hold on. Let me try to get this taken care of. I can't show you guys this. It's just too small. That's what she said. Come on, you little bastard. Get out of there. Hang on. Hang on. I gotta get this. What's nice with these brushless tiny whoop motors is that the way that the majority of like all of the hairs that get wrapped around the top don't really matter unless you have so many of them that like aerodynamically they're a problem. With the old brushed motors, because the shaft is what spun inside the can of the motor, that was not true. That's why you had to clean them out so often. These brushless motors, you really don't need to clean them out all that often. But like when I have it all pulled apart here, I'm going to always clean them out, because if you do get enough motors wrapped around the stator base, they can rub against the bell, and that can cause some issues. So when you have the motors off like this, this is your chance to get in there and get them hairs out. All right, so we're looking good. And just getting one more hair out of here. Okay. Come on, get out of there. All right, well, this hair is under the C-clip. That ain't going to want to come out, and that's fine. So now we're going to just zap on the new little wire here, but I am going to take the shrimp wrap off of the one that was on there, because I do want to start using shrink wrap on these to just make them a little bit more durable. That is why this started in the first place, is that I was lazy about keeping the little tiny bits of shrink wrap around the ends of these motors where they meet up with the PCB motor wires to the PCB connection. Gamma Gonad says, "Did you try just unplugging it and plugging it back in?" I did indeed. A bunch of times on Wednesday's stream, and I even did that tonight just to make sure. All right, so I just need to stretch this shrink wrap a little bit. Fuck. Now I don't know which one's which. I put both of these things down in the... desk, and I don't know which one's which. I think this is the new one. I'm pretty sure this is the new one. That was a stupid thing to do. I did not blow in the cartridge. That's true. I did not try blowing in the cartridge. Okay, I think this is the right one. Mainly because the tips of wire look like I just tinned them. The tips on these look like I just removed them from a PCB. All right, so now we got this guy. I'm crazy, so I'm going to check the orientation of the motor to the pad. So the motor is going to sit like that, and then I want it to sit like this. Okay, so I'm going to solder it on like that. All right, so let's get this going here. And I need this guy. And I'm going to have to put the nerd goggles on for this because my eyes are not what they once were. Stand by. All right, nerd goggles engaged. Tip of soldering iron clean. Let's get this going here. I'm going to go left to right this time. You know, Wednesday I did right to left, but let's try it different this time. All right, that one was beautiful. Let's try to get the middle one here. Okay. Having trouble seeing what I'm doing. There we go. All right, didn't quite get that on there the way I wanted it. There we go, that's the one. I was moving a little bit as that was cooling, so I'm going to grab both of these like this, and then I can just rework the middle one and make absolutely sure that it's not a cold solder joint. All right, perfect. And now we're going to bring the third one in here. And there we go. Okay, I'm going to try to not have this one angled out. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I got it tacked on, but it's not quite where I want it. So I'm going to grab all three, and then I'm just going to use the tip of the soldering iron to kind of shift this one back up into place. Apply heat. It's close. I wish it was a little bit, wish I was a little taller. Wish I had a rabbit in a hat. There we go. That's a little better. All right, cool. So those three are good. Now we're just going to pull the shrink wrap down a little bit. Sorry, the shrimp wrap. Mispronounced it. And I'm just going to use my little bit of magnification here and my fingernails to pull the shrimp wrap down over the PCB. And then we're going to hit it with some fire to melt it up. And we want to just make sure that it's not touching the bell. You got to be really careful about that. So it is in position. Now we're going to take some fire and just shrink it down a little bit. Just real quick like. All right, there we go. Now we're going to take a look with magnification and make sure that the shrink wrap is not rubbing against the bell. You can also just turn the bell. Like if it's rubbing, you'll know about it. All right, so that's good to go. We've now got a fresh wire and fresh connector. The problem could have been either the wire or the connector. Maybe one of these wires that I soldered back on only has like one strand of contact, and that was just not enough for it to actually push the motor all the way over. or maybe the connector was no good. We are gonna know in a second. Let's get this guy bolted back down. We'll plug it in and see what happens. If at this point it's not right, it's just in the garbage. Like there's no reason. Let me do something really quick. Let me just toothbrush this. There's a whole bunch of dirt down here. Let me just get it kind of cleaned up. I have weird like nightmares of the solder flux ruining those 702s from a while back. Not ruining, because I did get them fixed, but yeah, anytime I have a motor off, I always look down here by the bushings and use a little bit of magnification to make sure that nothing's going to gum those bushings up. And yeah, we're fine. It was not flux, it was just... It's from the hole in the bottom of the frame. Rockcaller says, can the plastic part of the connector just be swapped? Absolutely. But the plastic part is only half of the equation. The little crimped on metal parts, the problem could be there as well. So to be honest, best bet is just to swap the whole damn thing out. Tiny Whoop sells these little leads here in lots of fun colors. Red, blue, yellow, white. So next time you're doing a Tiny Whoop order, snag a set, and then you'll have an extra set of these connectors. If you're having a problem, you don't have to fuck around with them, right? You can just swap them completely out. All right. There we go. Motor soldered on. I'm cautiously optimistic that that we're going to be fine here. And all right. The old plug, I mean, I guess, no, yeah, the problem is here. The old plug, it didn't feel weak or loose or anything like that. So, I don't know. I don't know what my guess would be as to what the problem really was here. But, hopefully it's fixed. Let's take a look. So it's that left front motor, motor number 4. And the transmitter's coming up. And I guess I'll just quickly just push the prop on a little bit. And let's see. Come on. Come on, ELRS. Connect, you bastard. Oh, I was still in turtle mode. Hey, look at that. There we go. All's right with the world. Go into turtle mode. Hey! So it's got, it's not spinning the right direction. Even though it has the appropriate propeller on it, I have to go into Betaflight and reverse the direction of that motor. The wires that I took off, that's actually kind of weird. Oh, it was because the whole plug was reversed. That's right. All 3 of these other motors, I soldered these connectors on 180 degrees. So there's a half a twist between the plug and the motor. I did it the right way on this one so that there's no twist. And so now the motor's spinning the opposite direction, which is kind of funny. So yeah, we can put this prop on. We can hop into Betaflight, get this motor spinning the right direction, and then we can rip it around the room again. What do you think of that? And maybe something else will explode on it, because man, this rig has broken like every time I've flown it over the last couple of weeks. It's sometimes builds like become cursed. It's usually once a build has been beat up a whole bunch, like everything on the build is kind of banged to shit, and it just starts breaking, and like one thing will break, you fix that, you put it back up in the air, another thing breaks. There's a school of thought in FPV that like when that begins to happen, you throw that rig in the goddamn lake and you just build a fresh one. Yeah, I can't really afford to do that, but if you have the money and a rig starts to be cursed, maybe just throw it up on Marketplace. Don't sell it to me, but you know. We're going to use the wizard, start and spin. Motor 1, what are you doing? You are spinning the correct direction. Motor 2, you are incorrect. Click it to reverse it. Motor 3, you are incorrect. Click it to reverse it. Motor 4, you are incorrect. Click it to reverse it. Usually you're only going to have to reverse 2 of these, but like I said, I have one of my motors with the plugs wired in one direction, and the other one, they're wired in the other direction. I just like to check it at this point. Because for some reason I don't trust that thing. It's weird. Motor 1 is right, motor 2 is right, motor 3 is right, motor 4 is right. We are good to go. Let's get this prop pushed the rest of the way down. The reason why this problem I think I mentioned this, but just in case I didn't, the reason why this happened is when you grab these things, you tend to grab them in here, and that's right on top of the joint between the PCB and the wires. So if you use the little tiny pieces of shrink wrap that the motors come with, it prevents those motor wires from bending really sharp at the PCB. I got lazy. I didn't do that. I grabbed these motors a bunch of times and it broke one of those things. So yeah, that's why this whole thing started from the get-go. It was out of laziness. So don't forget to use those silly little pieces of shrimp wrap that come with these motors. They do matter. All shrink wrap matters, friends. All shrimp wrap matters. Let's see how it is. 32,000 kV worth of chocolatey goodness. Oh. It's back! The ghostly rig is back! This is one of the pretty hammered batteries. Well, all of these batteries that I have charged right now are the hammered batteries. That was a weird little thing I was trying for. Whoa. A little bit of an over-rotation. Let's see what's happening. Simrig got me. Let's see if I can get that newbie drone dive gap going. Oh, it was close! And we got a little cymbal crash while we were at it. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, I was going for the huge Matty flip. I got all the gates put away. So the room is not like... And I got the bathroom door opened. I was manually plugging in the evacuation pump right before the live stream to get it cleared out. Alright, let's discharge. We got 3 more of these beat up batteries. We'll just discharge these 3 down real quick, and then yeah, that'll take us the last 6 minutes. If you guys have any last second questions, ask them for sure. We'll talk through them. But yeah, in 6 minutes, Bot Grinder goes up, and everybody, myself included, can head on over there and get some secondhand smoke going. Off Axis says, just double twist them. Rockcrawler says, oh, we got that? Cool, I think we're caught up on chat. Ooh, nice little launch control there. Oh boy, hey! Man, we're getting a bunch of cymbal crashes in tonight. Let's do some newbie drone gate work. What do you say? Hey. Okay. Not going well. No! Fuck. Come on now. Where is it? I got it. No, first try. Look at that. Okay. Okay. Ethan W says, how possible, I assume he means, do you think a 2S tiny whoop with 8 motors is? Electronics wise, I figured out that it is, but frame-wise, I'm not sure. I mean, my main question is why? Like, why? What's the point of doing that? If the point is to just be different, fair enough. But to me, that doesn't really solve like any problems. You know what I mean? And I always try to kind of solve a problem with when I go to engineer something. Jesus, rejected. I don't know how you would do it with AIOs. Because there's really no motor output on AIOs. So you would have to have both running, and the problem with that is going to be they're going to be fighting, basically. Like, one of them is not going to be getting RC commands. It's just, yeah, it's just not going to work right. In order to do a more than 4 motor setup, you got to have some sort of an ESC and flight controller combo that are going to allow you to have the 8 motor outputs somewhere. So, yeah, that's like the main problem that I see with that setup. Man, this battery did not last long. Both of these are the beat up batteries. So yeah, that would be the main thing for me. Nani says you should have a robot lady for you when you're flying. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that stuff. More motor, more cool. I don't know, man. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, if you just want to do it to be different, I get it. But I don't see any. I don't see that solving any problems. Yeah, I don't think you're going to have a good time doing that in the AIO, because basically you're going to have your RC command running to 1. Although, I mean, I guess maybe you could just double the wires up on the RC command. So you'd have to run an external receiver, and then I guess maybe you could just put 2 wires per on that, so that you're sending the exact same receiver output to the to each AIO. But then the problem is going to be they're each going to be trying to... Oh, shit, I got away with that one. They're each going to be... Is there someone on the ground? There's an azalea on the ground over here. What in the world is happening? What fresh hell is this? I hope she's okay. Yeah, it's just, man, all kinds of weird shit's gonna be going on with that. It's gonna be trying to... Each one of the PID loops is gonna be trying to make its own corrections, which is gonna be awkward as hell. And they're really gonna be fighting one another, because they're gonna be trying to... if one of them is out of sync at all, it's going to be like pushing as hard as it can. And let me see if I lost the antenna. Nah, antenna's still there. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. That's a really, really, really tough one. Oh, what the fuck? Where did you come from? What? I'm just getting rejected left and right tonight. Wow, I got rejected again, you son of a bitch. How dare you? No, that was my fault. That was just shit flying. Oh, boy. Okay. I tried to do the new move. Oh, God. Always disarm, but then be ready to rearm, friends. Got a little greedy. No. Don't do that, fat sharks. Oh! That hit the couch like a ton of bricks. No. Sketchy power loop! Oh! We got it! With the ugliest exit ever, but you know what? God damn it. The sketchy power loop sometimes has to just exit ugly. Don't. Yes. Woo! I didn't expect that! Ah! Come on. Come back. This battery's not too bad. The first two, though. Hot mess. Ah. Didn't quite give it enough stank there. Not enough stank juice. And then we're playing drums again. Hey! Oh, this battery's done. Alright, one more, I think. Yep, one more. It's 9:01. Go enjoy some bot grinder, my friends. I'm just going to really quickly pull this one last battery down here. And we will sign off for the evening. I'll see you guys again on Sunday at 3 o'clock. I'm going to be, as soon as I log off here, I'm going to be submitting an edit to the Rampage competition again this year. I won last year. I made a 2-minute version of the little drift car chasing edit, the analog drift car chasing edit that I put up last week. Wow, this battery feels awful. Oh, look at it sag down. This battery is done. Always doing both directions. Always get Tiny Whoop stuck in your own hair. I'm really tempted to throw this battery away because that sag was just brutal, but I'm running out of these batteries, so... yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll keep it. All right, people. Thank you for hanging out. Hopefully you learned a little something. That was a pretty straightforward, if I'm honest, troubleshoot. But yeah, the basics, the basics of that troubleshoot are really important. Where's the problem? Motor or ESC? Okay. Try arming it. Try turtle mode, take that motor off, swap it with another motor. Does the problem follow the motor or does it stay on the ESC channel? If it follows the motor, where is the problem with the motor? Is it the connector? Is it the wires? Is it the solder joint? Yeah, nice and basic, step by step by step by step. The mistake that most people make when troubleshooting FPV is they just jump. They jump all those first steps. And normally the jump is to Betaflight because that you can just do it on the computer. You don't have to get out the soldering iron. You don't have to do anything like that. And 9 times out of 10, that is the ass wrong direction to go. Betaflight, like, I don't care how hard you slam your rig into something, the ones and zeros did not fall out. They're all still in there. So in most cases, Betaflight is completely fine. But yeah, most people jump directly to, oh, my tune must be fucked up. Like, I promise you, you did not hit the tree hard enough for your tune to change. And so the problem has nothing to do with Betaflight. It's a mechanical problem. Most often, we're dealing with mechanical problems. And you need to troubleshoot those mechanical problems step by step by step by step. And I do it from like easiest to most difficult to save time. And that typically works. Like usually the easier stuff is what it's being caused by. So yeah, when you have to troubleshoot this stuff, just stop. Roll back in your chair, relax for a minute, and just go simple step by step by step. Don't jump to like, oh, I've had this happen before, and it was like one of the windings that had popped off. I need to dive in and fuck with the... No. Nice and simple. Nice and simple. Gamma Gonad with the last comment on the stream, he says, hey man, I've got 3 quads. I'll sell you for an extremely good deal. They all have a lot of new parts. Haven't flown since installation. They just need a tune-up. Gamma, that's tempting, but to be honest, I have way too many rigs as it is. So yeah, I'm gonna pass on that. Also, like, my builds are all like very, 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 very specific. Like very specific frame, very specific ESC, very specific camera. that is set up for like a task, right? I'm also broke, so I don't have any money for you. But yeah, if anybody's looking for 3 rigs, hit up Gamma Gonad, or just 1 rig. Yeah, sounds like he's moving some of the fleet around, and yeah, we got plenty of people that are not inundated with bills like I am. Thanks for hanging, friends. I'll see you Sunday at 3 o'clock. Troubleshoot yo shit the right way. Hopefully I helped you out a little bit tonight. Be good. Go get you some bot grinder. Here comes a little bit of flying with some copyright-free music. Vale la pena? Nah. We'll go with some deep house. The deepest of house. Come on. Come on. Here we go. Here we go. What can I play for you? Play something chill. Play something super chill here. Yeah, this is pretty chilled out. All right, guys, be good. See you next time. One of these days, I'll remember to do this before.